Welcome back into another episode of Top Shelf presented by Enterprise. Big trips, sudden detours, or last minute plans, whatever it is, we're here for it. And Quinn Hughes is officially on the market? Question mark? I guess it's
kind of like it. I don't know.
Best way to put it. First of all, I'm starting the show off with giving ourselves a pat on the back because 1 week ago today, we were sitting at this desk talking about a Quinn Hughes to New Jersey Devils trade. Thanks to Kyle, who definitely didn't receive any backlash for that.
All my Vancouver fans really enjoyed that segment.
But we're back, and today it's the bulk of the episode. We're talking about Quinn Hughes, and we're talking about the Devils still because it's the most obvious suitor. But yeah, reports came out between the Slash show and our show now that Quinn Hughes is, and the Canucks are certainly not shying away from any conversations to be had about dealing him. What I want to start with, like, this is a we were talking before, like, arguably top 5, but bona fide top 10 player in hockey. You don't see trades like this in almost any sport, and especially you don't see them kind of with, some lead up to it. Like, the only thing I think of is Luka Doncic last year, and that was out of the blue. So we didn't see that coming. So to be able to really sit here and actually just talk about, a potential top 10 player potentially getting shipped is kind of crazy. Like, what's the magnitude of a guy like this being available, John?
Yeah, I mean, it's seismic. We've seen Jack Eichel get moved recently, Matthew Tkachuk, Mikko Rantanen, and I think this is on another level in terms of not only, could he potentially play with his brothers, and that'd be a super cool story, but also just Quinn Hughes is, it's him and Cale Makar and then everyone else in terms of defensemen. So, and these are two guys that impact the game in such a different way than, say, defensemen of years past. Oh, yeah. So, we know that Quinn Hughes can put up points, not so much this year, but in the past. But what I like is sort of like that MVP caliber performance that he puts out there every shift. So if you look at the Sport Logic data, for example, like, he is just all over the leaderboard. I mean, first in offensive zone puck possession. That's including McDavid, McKinnon. Yeah. Like, the Canucks offense runs exclusively through Hughes.
Doesn't have a choice, really.
No, I mean, and part of this is team, but still, like, he just the way that he operates on the ice is so special. The amount of stretch passes he tries to pull off and does pull off. The zone exits. He's such a transition king, and I just think that it's one thing for people to look up at the points every once in a while and go, oh, Quinn Hughes, he's a fantastic player, but I feel like when you watch him, when you look at sort of the underlying data, it's really something special, really like a unique player, along with, say, maybe a Makar in the defenseman category. So there's that, like the player, and then there's the contract. So he's making $7.85 million this year and next. That's absorbable by most teams as long as they're moving some money out. It's not some crazy contract, and he doesn't have any trade protection, which is sort of where things get super interesting for the Canucks, where they could be exploring a trade with 31 other teams hypothetically. And the reason why he doesn't have trade protection is, one, this year he, it's an RFA year for him, so you just can't get trade protection. He's too young. But it's interesting how him and his agent didn't negotiate any trade protection for that last year, the 6th year out of the 6-year deal, when he actually is eligible for trade protection. There might be like an oral history behind that or something that we can dig up. But nevertheless, it's an interesting contract because when he becomes extension eligible in July 1st, there's this window here between July 1st and September 16th where he can sign an 8-year extension with a team and have it, filled with bonuses, front-loaded, and those things will be taken away, at least to some extent, in the new CBA, which starts September 16th. Right. So when he becomes eligible, there's sort of a 2-month period where, from Quinn Hughes' perspective, he can make way more money. He can sign for an extra year. The structure of the deal is going to be different than anything he signs after September 15th. So all this sort of creates multiple windows to this conversation where you've got the window now between now and the trade deadline where the Canucks could trade him. And obviously the team acquiring him has him for 2 playoff runs. And then there's, sort of a mini window around the draft just because there's usually trades around then. And then from July to September 15th, that's another window. Again, sort of mostly beneficial to Quinn Hughes, but, could drive a trade because of that sort of those dynamics at play. And then obviously after, September 15th of next year to when he becomes a free agent, that's a whole other window. So super interesting, a lot of layers to this, but at the end of the day, the fact that he doesn't have trade protection just kind of blows this open in terms of the possibilities.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think there's a couple points I was thinking on my way in here, like, that are definitely worth noting for the crowd that truly believes it's all just noise and there's no chance it's anything could happen. Like
the city of Vancouver.
The city of Vancouver. This is to you. I feel bad for you, first of all, but like, so you look at the situation there, and Rick Tocchet leaving, I think, speaks for itself. He wins Coach of the Year and gets out to the Flyers, who are no better than the Vancouver Canucks. I think he knew something was brewing, and he didn't have enough to build around. And you look at last year, what happened with JT Miller, and that market shrunk and shrunk and shrunk. The louder it got there in Vancouver, to the point where they kind of got handcuffed on having to find a return for him because they had to get him out. So I think there's a couple things that Vancouver is looking themselves in the mirror right now and being like, we can't win with Quinn Hughes. Why are we going to try to keep fighting it? They're second last in the league right now. Like, there's so many things going at them that I think is a perfect storm for trade, and not to mention too, like what better rebuild than yes, trading away a top 10 player sucks, but it completely like launches a rebuild into motion instantly, especially with the team we're talking about, the New Jersey Devils. So we've got a couple mock trades here that we're going to go over that you guys are going to lead us through with the Devils, considering they have like they're bar none the number one option here for who the Canucks are going to trade with. Sorry. Luke, Jack Hughes are both there. They've got pieces to move. It would be silly of us to sit here and at least start with any other team than the New Jersey Devils. So we'll start right with you, Josh. You've got a big, giant package that I'm very excited to get into here. Take it away.
All right, so I've got a 3-team blockbuster for us.
Let's go.
Yeah.
So in this 3-team blockbuster, the Vancouver Canucks are getting Simone Nemec, Dawson Mercer, 2 first-round picks, 2 second-round picks.
Whew.
The Devils are getting not only Quinn Hughes, they're also getting Kiefer Sherwood, Vancouver's best rental trade chip.
Yep.
And they're getting Alex Wenberg from the San Jose Sharks. 50% retained.
Okay.
Fills a big center need, third-line center, second maybe while Jack Hughes is out.
Yeah.
And then the Sharks are getting Dougie Hamilton and Seamus Casey.
Okay.
Props for remembering all that.
Yeah, that was impressive.
I'm impressed.
Yeah, is that all?
That is all. That is all.
It's no fourth
But yes,
team.
a lot to unpack here. Devils obviously get Quinn Hughes. They get Kiefer Sherwood, who I think would be an awesome fit, maybe with Jack Hughes and Jesper Bratt once everyone's healthy. They get Wenberg, who fills, again, a big center need. Devils get a huge return based around Nemec. I think he can come in and play top pair minutes right away or second pair. Kind of replaces that puck-moving void that Hughes is going to leave to. Obviously, he's not Quinn Hughes, but he's having a really good year. But there's also not really room for him in New Jersey if Quinn Hughes is coming aboard, I find. And then the Sharks get in on this because the Devils need to create cap space to bring in Quinn Hughes. It's really tough to fit his contract. They got Kovacevic coming back off LTIR. So they find a taker for Dougie Hamilton. And that's the Sharks, who want to get better, but also need to spend to the cap floor. Remember, they had to take on Carey Price's contract just to get there this year. So he can help them, and they get a good D prospect out of it in Seamus Casey, who could also play within the near future.
This is an awesome trade. Yeah, I really hope it works out. Like, I wish you were like Gary Bettman and you could be the puppet master and make this happen, because it's really fun. And like the one hookup or hold up for me is like Dougie Hamilton is, I think, his 10-team no trade list.
It's a
10-team, I
10-team
believe.
trade list.
He probably doesn't have San Jose on that.
San
Think
Jose
so?
seems like a
I don't know, it's hard to
spot
say.
he might be willing to go. Not
Bigger
a big
role.
market, bigger role, less pressure, nice place to live. Obviously, North Bay area. So who knows what? It's impossible to predict what's on these players' trade lists. Usually, Canadian teams are on it. They don't want to go to Canada, but yeah, it's impossible to predict. But I could see him accepting a move to San Jose or being willing to have one of them on his list.
My other note on this is it's interesting to see New Jersey trade 3 defensemen, get one in, and it not really devastating their blue line. Obviously, when you bring Quinn Hughes in, everything's going to be okay. But they have so much depth at that position that they are able to sort of wheel and deal, and it works out just fine. So that's something that jumps off the page for me too.
There's a lot going on here. Like,
Yes.
let's
Yes.
pump the like.
Do you like it though?
I don't, because I think the Devils are giving up way too much versus what I think is a more realistic trade package here. Because you're giving up a second overall pick defenseman, you're giving up a top 6 forward, you're giving up first and second round picks for 2 years, you're giving up a top pairing defenseman in Dougie Hamilton, whether you think he's a plus or negative asset, and you're giving up your arguably best prospect. I think you could argue Anton Salayev or Seamus Casey or whatever, but closest to the NHL. You're giving up every single premium asset you have for this year and next year and the year after that. I think it's obviously you do what it takes to get Quinn Hughes, and I think that's the overriding factor here. But will it take that much to get Quinn Hughes? Is it necessary to trade all of that and then have Kiefer Sherwood in there? And does it necessarily have to be Dougie Hamilton in there to make the money work? Like, there's a lot of different factors there. I think ultimately
It's
moving
really
out,
hard to get the money to work.
It is,
without
Yeah.
but it's
moving
also
out.
not as hard to make the money work when you're not acquiring Alex Wenberg and Kiefer Sherwood as
sure.
well. So I think there's so much going on here that I think there's a more simplistic package that is probably the right path to take between these two teams.
Gotcha.
There probably is, but so my angle from this for the Devils is, man, they're getting, again, one of the best players in the NHL, and I think bringing him to New Jersey, we can assume he's going to sign an extension.
Yeah.
What that extension looks like remains to be seen, but he's going to be here for the long haul.
I think I love this move too. I just love the chaos of it.
Yeah.
I think acquiring Quinn Hughes in itself would launch the Devils into real cup contenders like this season and however long he's there for, pretty much with Jack. This is like if a home run swing is just bringing in Quinn Hughes, this is like a Game 7 Grand Slam swing. Like they want to get this deal done and like literally be the number one contender. Like it's I love it. I love it. They're bringing in a lot. So yeah, that's a trade. Absolutely.
That is
That's a
certainly
trade
a
for
trade.
sure.
It's a trade.
I'm trying to find a better way to
Qualifies as a blockbuster.
Yeah, to segue it into John's, because you don't have quite as big of a package. No. You have just the Devils receiving just Quinn Hughes, if I'm correct there.
Yep.
Get into your pack. Let's see your proposal and what do you think?
Yeah, Simon Nemec going the other way.
Okay.
Brendan Dillon going the other way, so another defenseman on the Devils, and then 2 firsts and 2 seconds. So my sort of thought process here is that the Canucks are going to want, a blue chip player back, so that's Nemec, and obviously being a defenseman is helpful, although maybe they'd like a center. But you just look at New Jersey and you're like, which guy is really going to move the needle for the Canucks? And I think it's probably Nemec if you take the Brats and the Hischiers out of the conversation, which I think is fair. And then Brendan Dillon is sort of like, Jim Rutherford playing like 3D chess, where he's like, or 4D chess, whatever the phrase is, where he's like, okay, we're going to acquire this local guy, and then we're going to ship him out next deadline. So between the two trades, we get extra assets, whether Dillon goes for a first or a second at the deadline. Like, he's a good player. Yeah. He's a good physical playoff-style player.
High character guy.
Yeah, and he's got some, like, trade protection, so who knows if he would necessarily waive to go to Vancouver. But, hey, hometown guy, maybe, they can convince him. And then obviously the draft picks are kind of self-explanatory in terms of, like, you really got to beef this up if it's a Quinn Hughes trade to New Jersey, to Josh's point, with a wink, wink, nudge, nudge, that there will probably be an extension down the road. So, yeah, I like this for both teams. Obviously, I put it together, but I wonder if you guys have a no to one of these sides.
Yeah, my question mark for this kind of trade is, like, the Canucks have such a need at center. Can you justify a Quinn Hughes trade where you're not getting at least somebody that can play center in that mix? Like, Dawson Mercer, I think, is more of a winger than a center, so it makes it a bit more of an awkward discussion than the obvious top 6 center fit.
Canucks will probably try him there, though, at least.
Certainly.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and like, he can play there, but is it like his best role? Like, he's had a pretty low face-off percentage over his career. Like, there's some factors there, but it's like, especially when you already have Hronek locked up and you have a first-round pick making your way in Tom Wielander, like, is the right defenseman the blue chip area that you need to get back from in this kind of trade? Because again, going back to the no trade protection, you don't have to necessarily trade with New Jersey. Like, you can find your best package, even if New Jersey is the most obvious fit. So then it's like, how do you make the most obvious fit with the pieces available? My concern with any package like that, centered around Nemec or any kind of supplementary factors there, is like, it's a intriguing trade on the surface, but does it fill the necessary needs that Vancouver has? Obviously, you need somebody there to help fill the void of Quinn Hughes, and Nemec is an interesting player to potentially do that at a high level. But it's, again, for your roster needs, is that hitting the exact spot that you necessarily need? I'm not quite sure, which is the factor that I'm not quite certain about for that kind of trade offer.
So my thinking is, though, for any sort of Quinn Hughes trade, the Canucks are going to be bad.
You're blowing it up.
A few years after.
Of course.
Yeah.
So I don't think need is as important, because who knows what you're going to need a few years from now when you start to actually try and become competitive again. And it's just about getting as much value back as possible.
Yeah. Like, you could find those centers hypothetically in the first round with those picks, and they're going to be from, let's just spitball here, probably 20th to 32 in terms of jersey and where they're headed in terms of the standings. So they're not like premium, but that's why you get 2 and then the extra second rounders to sort of sweeten the pot. So I think from this perspective, from the Canucks perspective, in this trade, it's like there's no one on New Jersey that you're going to like trade 1 for 1 or even 2 for 1. It's like you got to take a bunch of, A to B level assets and hope that, as a whole on the aggregate, you feel okay with it down the road.
So my thinking is too, I don't know if it's fully enough value for Vancouver. I mean, maybe this is the best is out there and they got to take it. And with New Jersey, they would have to make other moves to get cap compliant in this scenario. So I don't know what other moves they can make. They probably have guys they could just flip, but
Yeah.
It's an interesting spot for sure. And I'll just to mention it because we did talk about it last week, but for anyone who didn't see it last week, the third trade that Kyle put together for last
Yeah, the
week.
one that triggered all.
that's
One
really
that
gonna
triggered
happen.
everyone. I think it's worth throwing out there. That was Quinn Hughes for Dawson Mercer, Jonas Siegenthaler, Seamus Casey, and 2 first rounders, 2026, 2027. So that's our third elusive trade there that, has definitely not been sitting well with all Canucks fans. But
We'll bring a 4-team trade next week.
we every episode is just more Quinn
Adding
Hughes
one
trade
more.
talk.
Yeah,
That's all we're
one more
doing
team,
every week.
yeah.
But no, I think both of these packages are good. I think it's I like the angles where it's like, here's what just Quinn Hughes we think you can just get. Here's what we think you can get for Alex Wenberg somehow as well. But no, I
Throw the
love
Sharks
it.
in
I
there.
love the chaos, and that's how you kind of got to do it like that because those trades happen all the time. You never know how to predict them. So I appreciate you, Josh, for trying to throw your best guess together. A couple things like. Kind of, I guess, that would come in, the aftermath of something like this that we should talk about. Like, first of all, I'll let you lead it, Kyle. Just where the Canucks would stand, now and moving forward, like moving Quinn Hughes. It's a massive, massive shakeup to the whole franchise. Like, what do you think of that?
Yeah, moving Quinn Hughes is accepting that this era of Canucks hockey is dead and gone. Like, there is no competitiveness for a Vancouver Canucks team without a Quinn Hughes. He is like you mentioned the Sport Logic data off the top, and it's like he is so much that team, not just defensively in the minutes he eats and how he makes that defense kind of come together, but he's all of their offense as well in terms of their generation, in transition, all of that. And they're 31st team in the NHL right now, right?
It's not going
and
so
so when that's the case, you're hitting a hard reset. You're accepting that it's rebuild time. There's ways that you can do it moderately quickly, depending on the kind of package that you get back for Quinn Hughes. And you've got a couple of intriguing young players in the system already. You've got Jonathan Lekkerimäki, who's playing games. You've got Braden Coots, who's on the World Junior team. You've got Tom Violander, who's stepped into the lineup. Like, you've got some good pieces that you can project into top 6 or top 4 roles where it's not completely barren. But the reality is, if you're trading Quinn Hughes, you're going to be a bad team probably for 3 to 4 years at minimum before you're making that turn up the standings again. You're looking at what the Blackhawks have been for a few years now. You're looking at what the San Jose Sharks have been for a few years. And honestly, when you look at the prospects and the caliber of prospects coming along the next few years, that's not the worst thing to do right now when you think about maximizing a potential draft slot with Gavin McKenna available and some other really intriguing talent at the top of this draft. Next year's draft looks intriguing as well. There's a local product there as well in Landon DuPont that looks very intriguing. Like, there's reasons to be a bad team in the coming years, especially where it doesn't look like there's necessarily as many truly putrid teams as there has been in recent years. So you'd be hitting a hard reset. You'd be trying to go out and get those top-end draft picks, and you would have a decent number of players that you can look to sell off and get different capital back. So the reality of a Quinn Hughes trade here would be accepting that in the next year and a half where you have Quinn Hughes under contract, you're not going to be a competitive team, and he's gone in free agency is kind of the reality that you would be accepting if you're trading Quinn Hughes now. And so if you're accepting that, then it becomes, okay, how do we maximize the value for Quinn Hughes? Well, it's probably by trading him sooner rather than later and kind of waiting this whole thing out. So I think that's kind of the situation for the Canucks in like the present in terms of accepting where you are and kind of biting that bullet of, we're going to be bad here. Let's just do it now and kind of start that process. And then the future outlook, I think, becomes almost more promising because with Quinn Hughes on this team, yes, you have that bona fide top 10 player, but they're a 31st place team right now with that player. And how are you getting all these different assets, or how are you bottoming out and getting top end players? Maybe you can do that with Quinn Hughes on the roster, but then also are you able to re-sign Quinn Hughes long term if you're that kind of team? So I think the future outlook becomes a bit more promising if they accept that and go into a true rebuild. But if it's you're trading Quinn Hughes for pieces that are actively on the roster, and then you're making more moves to try and be competitive now, then you become a team that is ultimately kind of like what Nashville has become, where it's a team that thought they were this competitive team, goes out and spends money and ends up in a much worse position. So there's ways that Vancouver can come out ahead on a long-term, like looking 5+ years down the road on a long-term outlook like that. But that's if management and ownership kind of accept the reality that they would be in without Quinn Hughes here.
Right.
I also wonder, like, the second part of this is how far do they cut into their roster, into their core? If Quinn's gone, okay, do they try their hardest to get rid of Besser and Demko and Pettersson? I assume that they would like to get rid of anyways, but his contract, like, does it become like this whole fire sale? And I know that they've already, put the feeler out there in terms of like our veterans are available kind of thing, but like, what does that really mean?
Yeah.
I suppose there's an argument for like, okay, Quinn leaves, but then you have to have some veterans, so you hold on to that rest of the core, but then really work around them in terms of building things up and it not being, like you said, a retool and being sort of delusional about it. You take it slow, but you still have the veterans there. That's a way to do it, but that's where my mind goes to after Quinn's gone. Like, how deep do you really go?
I think for me, the key thing there is they have time for all those guys, right? Like, they're either locked up for multiple years or there's different trade protections or whatever there. There isn't, like, this pressing need of, like, this could go south quickly, like, with Quinn Hughes and, like, the chatter around it and all of that. Like, there's ways that this can get messy fairly quickly, and then it's also, like, how do you maximize the value trading that kind of player? I think with those other pieces, you have a bit more time to either decide where you're at or find the right trade fits or do that in the offseason. I think there's different ways to approach that, either over kind of the coming months or over a couple of years time.
This is looking further ahead too, but I wonder what this would mean, if anything, for Jim Rutherford. Like, he's an older executive. Would he want to stick around and see through a rebuild? Like, part of me thinks no, but who knows?
It is fun to make trades, though.
Yeah, and he does.
That kind of sounds like a fun
likes
time.
doing that.
Does like doing
His
that.
life calling, basically.
Yeah. And then, so on the flip side of things, the New Jersey Devils, who we've got acquiring Hughes, what do you think the outlook looks for them, Josh? Like, this is as win now as it gets, pretty much, if you get a guy like this and put the Hughes brothers together, right?
100%. And it hasn't been a great season so far in New Jersey. I mean, I think they're out of a playoff spot at this very moment. It's really jumbled in the East. But, yeah, getting a guy like Quinn Hughes immediately puts them into cup contention. And I think the East is probably more wide open than it's ever been in a while this year. So I think this could make them maybe cup favorites eventually out of the East anyway. I mean, especially the next year and a half while Quinn Hughes is on that cheap bargain contract, because when he signs his new deal, it could be for almost twice as much if we're being realistic.
Yeah.
If he wants it to anyway.
They would have, what, Jack and Quinn at, like, Kirill Kaprizov money for, like, 2 years?
Literally. Like,
Yeah.
So I don't know how you don't push all your chips into the table for these next 2 years. And that's part of why in my three-way trade, too, I had them getting Sherwood and Wenberg to fill all these needs.
Oh, they're great fits if you can make it work. Absolutely.
But, yeah, I think it just means, all hands on deck. We're going all in for these next few years at least, and we can still be competitive for a long time.
I think, too, it has to be worth noting, like, from a you want to see what happens on the ice, but it also, like, if they were able to do this and put three brothers together who are all, like, with all due respect to, like, I don't know, Mark Stahl, let's say, if the Stahl brothers all linked up, to all of them, to be honest, like, Eric Stahl was great, Jordan Stahl was great, but neither of them were the caliber.
Jared Stahl?
Jared Stahl, we don't need to talk about.
Great junior.
Neither of them were the caliber of Quinn and Jack.
No.
Yeah.
So to put three brothers together who are this good, like, it's never really been seen. I think that's worth noting too. Like, just the legacy that, honestly, it probably adds to the Devils' legacy that they have and stuff.
For sure.
That part is so unique too, and we haven't really talked about the whole brotherhood thing. Not that it's a massive, driver in trades, but in a situation like this, absolutely it could be.
Like, that's why we're talking about the Devils here, right?
Right.
It's like, I think there's some other teams that maybe have a more intriguing trade package for Vancouver, some things like that. But when we're talking about the most intriguing idea of, like, a Quinn Hughes trade, like, three elite, like, two of them MVP caliber players today. We'll see what Luke develops into, but all of them playing on the same team and being Stanley Cup contenders, like that is like storybook type stuff.
Seriously.
Like that'd be incredible. And it's already incredible that two of them play on the same team. Then as soon as that happened, that kind of triggered where we're at today.
Yeah.
But in terms of like the Devils' outlook here, like I think the easiest way to put it is like whether it's the Devils or any other team that could potentially acquire Quinn Hughes, I think it puts them up an entire tier in like the pecking order, where it's like if you're like a fringe playoff team, acquiring him automatically makes you like a playoff lock. Acquiring him, if you're like a playoff lock or a playoff contender, puts you into a legit cup contender. Like wherever it is in that standing, I think it puts you up an entire level just because of how good he is. Like bona fide top 10 player in the NHL, without a doubt second best defender in the NHL when he's on his game, of course. And for the Devils team, that I think we talk about is like a fringe cup contender when they're fully healthy already. That puts them into that tier with like the Colorados and Dallases and those elite number one tier cup contenders. And that's why this trade is such an intriguing idea for the Devils, right? Where it's like, okay, they're a good team that if things go right for them, you can see them being in a Stanley Cup final. But with Quinn Hughes on their roster, it's like, who's beating them in the East? Like that's the conversation and the difference here for like a team like the Devils to potentially acquire him.
Seriously, yeah. And I think something else that has to be, because when I was looking at the reports and stuff, this couldn't stop getting noted, as minor as it sounds. When I think Quinn was talking about it on the weekend, and he was talking about the Devils GM Tom Fitzgerald.
Yes,
and he's,
Fitzy. My guy
Fitzy. So I don't know. Something might be happening here. But let's just say in the event, because there is a slight downside you could say to Quinn Hughes joining the Devils, it does not outweigh how awesome it is. But maybe there's some world where he's like, oh, if I go to New Jersey, though, I'm going to be stepping on my brother's toes a bit. I'm going to be playing above him. Maybe he wants to have his own team and kind of just be that brother of the three of them. Who knows? I don't think that's the case. But if there is that world that does exist where Quinn Hughes is thinking about not going to the Devils, who do you guys have as potential other suitors for the Canucks? We'll start with you, Josh. Who do you think?
So I don't think it would be any team in the Western Conference, strictly because I think the Canucks would want to trade this guy to the other side of the country.
Cannot trade him in the West.
Cannot trade him in the West. So I look at the Eastern Conference and I see the Carolina Hurricanes as one of the only contenders who has legitimate cap space. Mm-hmm. They have some assets they could trade to, and they're that team that's been knocking on the door for a while but could use that one bona fide star on the back end to push them over the top.
Right.
The fit is a little awkward with Slavin and Keandre Miller both locked up as left shot defensemen, but when Quinn Hughes is available, I think you can try and make it work. And we know Carolina isn't afraid to try and make a splash.
Yeah, I was going to say, what big trades does
Carolina
Carolina
talking about? Most conservative team in the league.
I think the left-handed thing isn't much of an issue here just because Quinn Hughes is such an obvious fit on the right side and like a
Slavin,
Slavin
you can
make it work.
You make that work in that kind of respect when it's a player like him. That's an intriguing fit there because it's a team that always has cap space. They have a lot of both roster and prospect capital. Like that's a very intriguing fit.
For Quinn too, like nice place to play, like good weather. You've got a legitimately great coach. Like if you don't want to go to New Jersey, hey, maybe his brothers annoy him a little bit. But
then you get to play him a bunch in the division.
You get to play him a bunch.
Brother
So,
stuff.
yeah, I could see him being like, okay, like Carolina's the place I would want to play for the next 10 years maybe.
And sorry to cut you off there, but like that's a team as well that I think would be willing to make the kind of Quinn Hughes trade, even if it is only like a year and a half.
For
to
sure.
get him.
Yeah, I mean, if they were willing to do it for Rantanen for
2 months.
For 2 months.
Essentially. I mean, they didn't know it at the time.
With Quinn having the extra year, I'm sure they would be more than willing.
Yeah, they've been big game hunting, and it's all because they cannot create in the playoffs. They can't find that extra gear. Well, I mean, I think Quinn Hughes would solve that pretty quickly, right? So I'm sure they're brainstorming right now in the Hurricanes front office.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's a team who certainly is not afraid to make a splash. John, who do you think? Who do you think their team will be?
I like Philadelphia here. There's the obvious connection with Rick Tocchet. Him and Quinn Hughes really got along in Vancouver before Tocchet left. And there's kind of two things in terms of like the Flyers and like their trajectory. I feel like they're sort of lurking where like Danny Briere is sort of holding his assets in his back pocket waiting to pounce. Because I feel like when you think of like the teams that are rising, Philly just seems like to be like going along very slowly. And I know they've, Cutter Gauthier and, Trevor Zegras, like those kind of trades have happened, but they haven't made a trade for like a guy who's in his prime. So I wonder if there's something there, especially when they have Porter Martone to offer potentially and 3 first-rounders in the next 2 years. So they sort of have that trump card where it's like, okay, if we want to throw as many first rounders as is possible or logical here.
Yeah.
We have the advantage over some of these other teams. This is assuming that Vancouver would really value those first rounders. So yeah, I think the Flyers are at least a dark horse in this conversation.
Okay.
We talk a lot about futures and stuff for this trade. Just mentioning Philly maybe sparked a bit of an insane idea.
Okay.
Hughes for Michkov. How far does that get you?
I mean, I think the Flyers do it every day of the week.
Yeah.
Does Vancouver, given that Michkov, yes, he's looked good. You wouldn't say that the start of his career is poor, but rumors of being out of shape and what's his defensive game look like, stuff like that. I feel like you'd be shying away if you're the Canucks in terms of it not being a completely sure thing. But it is tantalizing in terms of adding that game breaker just immediately into your lineup and trying to build around him.
I think they probably wouldn't want to put all their eggs in one basket with being one player and hoping that one player is the star that they want. But
Michkov and a couple first rounders. Now we're
Then
talking.
we're
Ooh, okay, now that's spicy.
We got a fourth.
Just
here.
throwing that one out there. If we're
like
talking about some crazy
Yes,
ideas,
yes.
and
I
that's
like it.
getting way out there.
Yeah, no, that's good. So we got the Canes, we got the Flyers, third team, Kyle, that you think other than the Devils he could go to.
Yeah, let's get out of the metro here, guys.
all right.
Yeah.
Seriously.
I don't think there's any team in the NHL that could use Quinn Hughes more than the Detroit Red Wings. In terms of a team that is kind of on the fringes and doesn't really, even if they make a playoffs, are they really a cup contender right now? Probably not. And do they have the pieces coming along to make him a cup contender? I'm not really sure. But again, talking about how a Quinn Hughes trade levels a team up in terms of raising their tier, Quinn Hughes on the Red Wings is an awesome fit in terms of both what the Red Wings have to offer in terms of trade, because they have a lot of intriguing kind of center options for a trade, like a Nate Danielson, a Marco Kasper, whatever fit you want to do there. They have some defense prospects as well. They have some intriguing candidates to make a trade work there. And then it's also the fit on defense, where Moritz Seider and Quinn Hughes on a pairing, come on. What is that the best pairing in the NHL right now, given the way that Mo Seider is leveled up? You can also play them separately, and then you have those two guys playing the entire game, essentially.
would that be the biggest defense partner upgrade of all time? From
Yes.
outside to go from Ben Sherratt to
Yes.
Quinn Hughes?
Exactly. And so when I think about that potential, and obviously I think the connection here is playing at the University of Michigan and that
I
connection.
think he lives in Michigan in the summer.
Exactly.
So family does anyways.
The idea of that is if you have this small window where it's the reality of being able to maybe jump a Devils team or jump whatever team, jump the queue and make that big splash and go out and get Quinn Hughes and bring him into to Detroit and level up your team and beat a New Jersey to the punch. I think a team like Detroit has to take that, because what other way are you getting that star level player? They're not making it to free agency anymore. And
Nope.
Quinn Hughes probably isn't making it to free agency either. There's going to be some kind of move here at some point. And I think the Red Wings both have at least the capital to give a different kind of offer than a New Jersey or whatever team that might be more appealing to the Canucks in terms of some of the centers that they can offer and some of the other younger pieces that they can offer. So I think in terms of both the roster fit, the potential to re-sign him, and the need of just going out to trade for this guy to get ahead of the queue and kind of beat some other teams to get to Quinn Hughes, I think the Red Wings are that team that I think most desperately needs to trade for Quinn Hughes as soon as possible to get all those pieces together again, to level up that team that just simply isn't in that kind of conversation right now and doesn't look to be in that conversation in the coming years.
I think the core four. I'm going to use that.
Hey,
that
there we
phrase.
go.
Why not? Why not bring the Leafs into this? Core four of Larkin, Quinn Hughes, Lucas Raymond, and Moritz Seider. That's maybe not
You're kind of cooking there.
maybe
a little
not
bit.
championship guaranteed, but you are in really good shape, because all those guys are in their 20s. I think Larkin's still in his 20s, and just I don't know. I can just see that that's just such a strong nucleus, and all of them are good defensively. There's no sort of weak link there in terms of the well-roundedness. And you mentioned guys like Danielson and Kasper. Detroit's been criticized for drafting a lot of the same player, especially up front. But it could come in handy here, where if the Canucks are you know what, we're thinking closer to a retool, or at least more players that are in the NHL now versus a bunch of picks. Well, I mean, Detroit can say, hey, here's a list of 7 guys that are maybe
Quite
not
literally.
the highest ceiling, but are for sure top 9 wingers, or for sure
Middle
top
6
4
guys,
defensemen. And like, here's 3 of them, and whatever,
Yeah,
second rounder. and let's
Literally,
do
like
this.
Marco Kasper's in the NHL right now. Nate Danielson's currently in the NHL right now, but is kind of that tweener right now. But then it's like Carter Bear they just drafted, Michael Brandsegg-Nygaard. If you're looking on defense, Axel Sandin Pellikka's there. Like
Kosa and Ned, if you want
exactly,
to
Trey Augustine there as
Yeah.
well. Like you want a goalie, they have it. Obviously, goalie is probably the position that you're not looking at. But you want a top end defense prospect, they have it there. If you want some intriguing center options, they have it there. Like if you're looking at more of those younger players versus like a Devils offer where it's almost more those young roster players. If you're looking strictly to just the prospect tier, I think that the Red Wings have a very intriguing offer on hand.
Yeah. I think it's safe to say I think the Canucks would be shooting themselves in the foot if they didn't shop around a bit.
They should be asking every team.
Obviously, and I
for
don't
a
think
deal.
I don't think Jim Rutherford I don't think that'll be breaking news to him if he sees me saying that. But it comes down to like what is valued more, like having 2 of his brothers on the team or having some better assets. And I don't know if no team can really move the needle an insane amount, I still am finding myself falling back on he'll end up on the Devils one way or another.
Yeah,
I mean, the Devils could again to the brother thing, like they could kind of lose their mind here in a way where they're like, they just keep adding to the package because they just can't get over. Like think of even the marketing opportunities. Like all of a sudden they sort of jump over the Rangers in the New York market in terms of most interesting teams. I mean, maybe that's exaggerating because it is the Rangers, but
on the flip side of that though, there's a way that the Devils can talk themselves into complacency almost and being like, we feel good about getting this guy for free in a year and a half. This is our offer. Take it or leave it, or this guy's just going to walk to us.
Yeah.
And they can get jumped by another team. Like I talked about the Red Wings there. I think that's a team that needs to be aggressive in terms of having an offer on the table that the Canucks are going to consider. Because if a team like the Devils do become complacent or feel good about waiting and not giving up these premium assets or having an offer where it's not like the crazy offer like Josh had in terms of everything on the table, then it's almost like you're leaving yourself open to either have another team trade for him, and then if he likes it there, resign, and then all of a sudden you lose out on the possibility there.
Yeah.
Like I see that possibility of like just add stuff to the table until you get him.
Yeah.
I can also see a way that they can be like, this is our offer, take it or leave it. He's coming to us anyways, and another team getting in there and acquiring him and kind of blowing up those plans.
True, I think that is the more likely case. Although there is the one thing that you should consider is like if the Devils don't play hardball and make a move, like maybe Jack and Luke start to raise their eyebrows, being like, "Well, you don't want to bring us our brother? Come on!" And
I think Jack's
maybe they get
signed
nervous about
through
that.
2030. Luke is 2032.
It could. I
Luke
would be
just
worried
signed.
it might. I don't think it would, but maybe toy with the
you never know.
relationship there a little bit if they don't at least make a solid
push.
offer. So that's what I'm thinking. But we've been talking brothers all show. So one last thing before we get out of here, I've got to do a top shelf trivia presented by Enterprise. Brother related. You guys are going to go around the table one at a time, naming a set of brothers until you can't think of one. I'm going to give you guys 10 seconds per turn. Whew. We'll start with you, Josh, now.
Kachucks.
Chucks is correct.
Hughes.
Hughes is correct, John. Way to use your head there.
I got to take the easy ones.
Jason Nick Robertson.
Jason and Nick Robertson's correct. We got 3 off the board.
I'm blanking. Oof.
You got about 5 seconds.
It's always 20 feels so high.
Feels like a lot. I'm out.
Josh is out.
Okay.
On to John.
There's only one stall left, right?
There's only one song left.
Who else is a brother? Geeky. The Geeky brothers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Connor
Connor
and Morgan.
Connor and Morgan.
That took probably too long.
That one's not on my list.
Okay, well there you go.
21 sets.
Show goes on. Kyle, do you have another one?
Arvid and Elmer Soderblom.
Oh, what a shout!
That's not on my list either.
Early trivia deep dive there.
This is gone. This is insane. No, I had a list from a website. It was preseason. There was
Sounds like a bad website.
Sounds like bad. Well, I'll let you guys keep going. We're just not gonna have the graphics up
Okay.
there.
I should have been thinking that whole time about the next one. There's obviously so many obvious ones. They're just not coming to mind.
There's a few obvious ones left. Yeah. Give you 5 seconds.
Um,
One.
I can only think of
Anything?
like retired guys now. Oh no.
Kyle.
You can go if you have one.
Oh
yeah, I mean Kempe, but I don't know. His brother's not in the league anymore.
That one wasn't on my list, but I felt a little bit
No.
better about that one.
Oh boy. Who's in the league?
I'll turn it to sudden death here. First one to get one wins. First
Yeah.
one. You guys both taking a second here. So why
See,
don't we
now
do that?
all I can think of right now is brother-sister duos in the P-Dub.
Clark or is Graham Clark? He's not in the NHL right now, eh?
That's a borderline one. They're brothers, but I don't know if it counts. If
That
he's in
one
the
I won't
NHL.
count. That one's
Okay.
not on my list either.
Okay. They have to like actively
Yes,
be in the
yes.
NHL. Yeah, the Clarks are there.
I can't point you guys in too much of a
No.
direction here. I'd love to. There's some. There.
How about can you give us a team of
There's
one of
so
the guys?
many.
I was gonna tell. There's like 4 here. The more prominent ones. They're all probably 32 or older. All like brothers.
Oh,
included.
see another retire. I just thought of the Bens, Jamie and Jordy,
No.
but Jordy's
Jordy, no.
retired.
That's
very
not gonna work.
similar avenue.
Oh,
That's-
man.
Now I'm thinking of all the ones now that I'm
Right?
yeah. Josh has them all.
Oh.
The pressure's off.
Pressure's off. Yeah.
Oh boy.
I'll give you a team. The Wild.
Wild.
Oh, Marcus and Nick Foligno.
Damn, that was a good
Marcus
one.
and Nick Foligno. Kyle.
How do we not get the Felinos?
Right?
Well, I'm excited to read these off.
Yeah, can
there's
you
gonna be
please?
some obvious ones.
This is gonna be
There's
embarrassing.
a lot.
All right.
When you said
um,
Wild, I thought of the Gustafsons.
Well,
Phillips brother in the NHL.
tough bounce here. So the shout out is first gonna go to my sister.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Because no brother, and also because of the sister, I'm gonna give the shout out to the Bathersons, May on the Minnesota
Oh,
Frost,
nice.
and Drake on the Ottawa
Nice.
Senators.
That's not
That's
too
well
shabby. Yeah. Here's the guys that you.
That
guys
was a
missed.
tough performance. I'm not gonna lie.
Rough.
The Andersons. Joey and
Oh
Mikey.
yeah, Joey, Mikey.
The Barons. Morgan and Justin. The Boquist.
Oh,
Boquist.
Boquist, yeah.
Curry Dock and his brother. The
Yeah.
Flurries. The Hudsons.
How did we not get
Oh,
the Hudson?
Quinn Hudson. Yep.
The Hudsons.
Does the other
He
brother
counts.
played a game this year?
I don't think he has this year, but he has
Yeah.
games.
Okay.
He has
he's got
games.
games.
We've got the Lindgrens, the Nylanders, the Radishes, the Shens,
Oh, how do we not
Oh,
get the
yeah.
Shens?
was a-
the Smiths.
We should be
Yeah,
fired
yes.
for this.
Yeah.
Smiths, Brendan and Riley, and then these last 3 I thought were locks. Strome, Tanev, and the Van Riemsdykes.
Oh, Van Reeves.
All
Yeah.
3 of those I was.
That's
they're
Strome, come
Horrible
on.
on our part.
That's
obviously gonna get that.
All right,
so.
I'm gonna make it up by getting one more twin in there, Mackey and Madison Samoskevich.
Nice.
Samoskevich,
Yes.
that's a good pull. That's a better
There you go.
pull. Yeah, and
Tough bounce here.
Oh, the Jackeye brothers. Yeah.
Thanks to the God voice, Zach.
Thank you, Zach.
Yeah.
Yeah, he couldn't sit in there. He's like, I gotta get the Jackeyes. Yeah,
Yeah,
brothers.
how does Toronto forget about the Jack Guy brothers?
Of course not. Yeah, that's so.
I feel bad having this chain on after that performance.
That was pretty ugly, but
Win's a win.
you know what?
Yeah,
We've
we'll
had
take
so
it.
many great trivia performances
Yes.
over the years.
We had to have a dud.
We had to have a dud.
Rip
so
us in the comments. We deserve it.
Go
We'll
ahead.
Take it.
Yeah, go ahead and then go watch the tape to like Josh winning every episode he was on last year.
Yeah.
Kyle and John putting on master classes.
If only we had all time so we could get out like the Henri and Maurice Richard.
Oh.
I was thinking I
Then we're
I
cooking.
didn't know how to toe the line exactly, like because there's obviously some more important brothers.
I can't
from
believe there's
before.
that many brothers.
I don't know how we didn't get Shen or Strom. Like they're just such easy.
Tanev,
They're
too,
tap
yeah.
Yeah.
Those are all the ones. So there you
Tough
have it.
luck.
There you have it. That concludes our brother-centric episode. It was unexpected, but when the Quinn Hughes news comes out, you kind of got to talk about brothers. So that concludes the episode. Thanks to everybody who's a part of this once again for another week. This has been Top Shelf presented by Enterprise. We'll see you guys again next Tuesday.